Entertaining, informative, and educational. Inspiring content that makes a difference.
This is the Maximus Troy Publications Broadcasting Network.
Join the Academy. The Breeders' Academy proudly presents Bred to Perfection with Kenny Troiano, a show for serious breeders.
Whether you are looking to create a new strain or simply improve an old one, you have come to the right place.
Daddy, I want more chicken.
Oh, boy.
Now, here's your host, Kenny Troiano.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Bred to Perfection. My name is Kenny Troiano, and this, my friends, is the podcast devoted to helping you become a better breeder and taking your strain to the next level. That's right, my friends. It doesn't matter if you are brand new to breeding or you've been breeding for many years. There is something all of us can do to improve our fowl for future generations.
Hello, boys! I'm back!
Okay, I'm Kenny Troiano, founder of the Breeders' Academy, and I'm here with my co-hosts Nancy and Frank Bradley, and yes, we are back. You like that?
What did I tell you, Frank? What did I tell you? I think
It all goes downhill after that.
I think the title underneath me should be changed to Kenny. Kenny should be the manager of the nuts tonight.
I'm the keeper of the nuts. Inside
Oh my
joke.
goodness.
Frank and I are talking, and Nancy rushes in here and goes, "It's gonna be one of those days."
Wait, you need to explain why.
I still don't understand it.
I'll explain.
Yeah, tell them, Nancy.
First of all, welcome to another episode of Bred to Perfection Live. We're so glad to have you all here tonight. So anyway, Frank was online a bit early in the green room, and Kenny's
For
not
Frank.
there. And Kenny is always there in the green room first. And so he texts Kenny, goes, "Are you okay?" And Kenny's texting him back, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm ready for the show." Da, 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 da. And then Kenny realizes he's in the test green room, not in the real green room where Frank is. So I ran in there and told Frank that this is going to be one of them nights.
Maybe. We'll see. I want to make sure the members know the way we've been doing it lately is we do the front half, which is right about an hour for the public, and then we go into the back end on the website for our members, and we do the second half, which is our members roundtable. So I don't want you to miss it. Make sure you're ready for that. And we're going to continue the conversation on the mistakes most breeders make. And I'm probably going to do that for another 2 or 3 weeks at least, because what I like about it, we're talking about the different mistakes, we're bringing up different topics, and it's a smorgasbord of different ideas. But I'm really enjoying the conversation with these different topics.
We've always said, though, guys, the front end's a conversation. The back end is the educational part of it. We don't do hardly any teaching on the front part. It's just conversation, basically.
All the secrets in the back end.
Also, even if you're not planning on being a Breeders' Academy member, I want you to join the newsletter, which is our Breeders' Bulletin. Just go to www.breedersacademy.com. Sign up. You're going to get a lot of free breeding tips, a lot of free ebooks on breeding. Just go to breedersacademy.com. Nancy, you're right on the money. It feels like one of those days.
There you go. You're Italian nature. You have mongrels, buddy.
I have mongrels.
We were talking about our Italian family.
Italians are mongrels?
No, it's pretty much saying you're to the point, telling people that they got mongrels. If they got mongrels.
Okay.
And he also says, "Collet, truly Italian in nature."
But you can still be Italian and be a mongrel. Just like you can be American and be a mongrel.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that would be me.
yeah. Everybody's a little bit of mongrel. At least I hope they are. Because if they're not, they need to really revalve their family life.
They got 3 ears or something, or 6 fingers.
As you may know or not know, the Breeders' Academy is open right now for new members. So if you're thinking about becoming a member, this is a good time to enroll. I don't know when I'm going to close the doors. We do sometimes close the doors for quite a few months and then open it. I think for a while there, we were opening it maybe 2-3 times a year, if that. It's open right now, but I may go back to doing that, having it only open once in a while. Frank, I was thinking about the mistakes most breeders make and the topics that we're covering. And I was looking at some of the quotes that I had put together that go with this. And I just thought we'd check them out and look them over again. And this just fits so well. Like this one here, the best way to show that the stick is crooked is not to argue about it or to spend a lot of time denouncing it, but to lay a straight stick alongside of it. I don't know if you could say we're actually denouncing everything here, but we are hashing them out. And we're not just saying this is what you don't do. We're talking about what you should do.
Well, there's a big difference in telling somebody something, teaching somebody something, and not being able to explain the fundamentals of it. To me, you're not teaching unless you can verify each part of what you're teaching and be able to answer questions on that to back up and support what you're teaching. So just to tell somebody, oh, do this or do that without the rest of it is really, to me, not teaching, I don't think.
Yeah, they either complicate it or they simply don't know how to discuss it. And this is the one I found the other day. If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough, by Albert Einstein. And I thought that was a good one because that's the problem is a lot of people, and I think that's why they're able to so-called rely on their old wives' tales because they don't have to spend a lot of time explaining it. They just say, this is how we've always done it, but they don't explain it. And I think that's what we do a good job of is explaining it.
Yeah, and if they do explain it, I bet you $1 you can go to it and it's Googled. It's exactly what Google says it is and nothing more.
If it was right, and that would be one thing. Even if it's Google, they get it wrong.
That's the right ones, usually. That's the right just to Google something. But yeah, some of them don't even do that. They just answer the question and blow it off, and I'm done with it. Let's go to the next topic, please.
Yeah, here's another good one.
If you don't like my answer, I'll bust your nose type attitude.
I'm known to start a lot of fights. I don't even care anymore. What's that, Nancy?
I can contest to that.
Yeah. I say what's on my mind. I don't hold back. But here's another one I like too, is the trouble with the world is not that people know too little. It's that they know so many things that aren't so. And that kind of goes, again, with the old wives' tale. They just say a lot of things that they think they know, but don't know what they're really talking about. And then we come in and change the game, which I enjoy, actually.
Me, for one, eating crow is not my forte. I hate it. And you can believe things and never look for the truth. See if what you've carried and taught and told people all your life is real or not, and then to come find out that it's not. That's a hard one to swallow.
No, I agree completely. The last thing I want to do is teach something that's wrong and it come back at me because I don't like that feeling when I'm wrong. I spent all this time teaching somebody something and it was the wrong thing. Frank and I have always made sure that what we teach, we understand and we know what we're talking about. And if we don't know it, we'll go find out. We'll stay away from it if we don't understand it. But if I hear something that sounds interesting or somebody will say it different than me, but it makes sense and I'm thinking, ooh, maybe I'm wrong, I'll go check it out and then I'll readjust my teachings. I haven't seen that a lot lately, but every now and then somebody will say something, ooh, that made me think. So I actually look forward to those.
Totally understand that. But knowledge and education is really just a path. And I say this a million times to where people, especially the members, are probably getting tired of listening to it. But we're all on this path. It's just some of us are a little bit farther up that path. Now, the ones that's behind us, one of these days, they may come up and pass us. I look forward to that day. I really do. And that's what I want to see. People that outgrow us.
And that's the key, too. You don't need to find someone who knows everything. It would be nice, but not a lot of people do know everything. But I've always been really good at finding the person who knows a little more than I do. And that's the key. And if I know a little more than you, then I'm helping you. Yeah, I'm good with that. Okay, one more banner because everybody wants to shoot down science. And I found this one recently, which I thought was pretty good. Science is not a substitute for common sense, but an extension of it. I just think that's so good.
The crooked stick is my motto, though. I love that. It says it all. It really does. Mm-hmm. Rather than people fighting, and this is what I can't understand. Somebody will make a video and teach something. And then people get on there, blah, 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 blah. Do your own video. Prove them wrong. Prove that crooked stick is crooked. Show them how, especially two people that's bullheaded. It's not going to do any good anyway. It's just not going to do it.
Sometimes I like a debate because I like to see two different perspectives.
I don't mind debating.
It's dependent on who you're debating, though, because some people, it doesn't do you any good to debate because they don't even know what you're saying. So debate is only good if the two people are on the same page.
Yeah, if they're educated enough to know what they're talking about. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, the worst thing is let's say you're on the right side and they're on the wrong side, but they keep debating even though they're wrong. They just won't give it up. They won't see the light. They just keep going and going. That's not fun. When they just want to be opposite of you. And I see that a lot. There's a lot of people out there that putting out information. Frank showed me one today. And I won't say what it is, Frank, but he was showing me one today. And I was like, is this guy really believe this? Or he just wants to be in opposition with us? This guy's supposed to be knowledgeable. And this is what he's saying? I don't get it.
Some people, they don't realize that they're wrong or they don't think they're wrong because they just believe in a certain way. Unfortunately, that's the way it is sometimes, is they're not going to see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's just dark.
I told Kenny something, I guess you could say mean, but it's the truth. And I told him, I said, a dumb person is the only one that doesn't think he's stupid. Everybody else around him knows he's dumb, or her, but he's or she's the only one that doesn't know it. And that's true.
Nancy, you may have to move your mic closer. It's catching the whole room and you're being muffled.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not getting you very well. About a fist away.
You want me to kiss the mic?
No, that would make me jealous.
Okay, I've got a question before you go on to the next topic. Are you following the outline?
I'm going to in a second. I haven't started yet.
Have you even started the outline?
No, not really. I saw these banners and they go with what we're talking about. And I do believe they shed light on what we're talking about and maybe make people think differently, different ways of teaching. I just thought these were really good banners.
We started out on it, but we went off a little bit about listening to the wrong people.
Yeah, I can't find out where you're at. Before you go into the outline, why don't we take a short break?
Oh, hey, she did her job. Oh my God, I wasn't even ready for it.
I was wondering about that. I was wondering why we hadn't done it yet.
We're not going to have to fire her afterwards. Okay, here we go. See you in a minute.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. This show was brought to you by the Breeders Academy, where we will help you to increase your knowledge of breeding, advance your skills as a breeder, and help you to improve the quality and performance of your fowl. As a member, we'll provide you with the roadmap that you will need to create a true family or strain. I urge you to check it out. You've got nothing to lose, and you can cancel at any time. You also have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Simply go to www.breedersacademy.com to sign up.
The Breeders Academy will not only change the way you think about breeding, but improve the way you breed your fowl.
I hope to see you there. So let's get started.
Does today's show feel like a mess? It does to me. I don't know why. I did those announcements, and let me show you some. I missed that one. I missed that one.
Yeah.
I think I got that one, and I'm not sure about that one. So I missed a bunch of banners as I was going. I think that's what was messing me up. I don't know.
Nancy found us. Yes.
I did. I think I did. Starting here?
Yeah, you did. You're there. Good deal.
I think being lost in the wrong page while Frank was waiting for me screwed me up. I thought I was ready for the show.
You got no idea. Amanda, I wish she was here to tell you guys what happened to me. I was thinking today was Thursday. So I got up, I made pellets, was making feed. I pulled down the rear diff in my truck, doing some maintenance work on it. And I was out there working at 7:30. Amanda goes, shouldn't you be getting ready for the show? And I was like, why would I want to do that? And she goes, because you go on at 9, don't you? And then I realized that it was Friday night.
I actually thought you did too, and I'll tell you why. Because you asked me, are you okay? And I'm like, why would he ask me something like that? And I said, yeah, I'm doing great. Almost showtime. And I wrote that almost showtime as a little hint that if you weren't ready for the show, you better get your butt down here. And then that's when I found out that I was in the wrong room. Frank was actually waiting for me. That's why I wrote that. I said almost showtime because I was wondering if you'd forgot.
It was really close. You almost was asking me that question.
If I was in the right room, I might have. This goes with what we've been talking about all along is those that are listening to too many people. And I've seen it so many times where they'll come up and they'll ask me a question. I'll give them the answer. Then I'll see them on Facebook asking other people the same question. They're not relying on one person or trusting one person. They're asking everybody. I don't know how they make a decision when they get so many different ideas or so many different answers. But I would say listening to the wrong people or listening to too many people.
I've got to wonder if they're listening to so many people because they want a variety, or they're hoping that the other people will say the same thing that you're saying.
That's a good point.
About whatever matter it is. And then when they don't, all it does is confuse the heck out of them. What do I believe? Is Kenny got it on the mark, or these other 5,000 people on Google and Facebook and Instagram?
Well, what I would always do, though, Nancy, I would always ask somebody that was knowledgeable of this question. Whatever it may be, if it's a breeding question, I'd go to somebody that I knew that was a good breeder. And I'd ask them a question. And if I got an answer, then I'd research it. I'd research it from that answer that he'd give me. Kenny's right, especially on Facebook. You ask one question, you're going to get 5,000 different answers. There's many ways to skin a cat, okay? But some of them is going to be way out there. Some of them is going to be close. Some of them is going to not even be in existence. It's confusing. And I could have only imagine put myself back where I was when I first got serious about breeding and going to Facebook to get answers. That would be so bad to do. That would be really confusing.
I also wonder if they have an idea in their mind what they want to hear, but I didn't say it. So then they go someplace else trying to find someone who will agree with them.
That could be true too. The problem could lie in that somebody who is just starting out, they don't know who a good breeder is. They don't know the right answer or the answer that they're looking for. So they end up finding somebody who has a lot of confidence in what they're doing. And of course, they believe them. Unfortunately, sometimes it could be the wrong area where they're going.
Okay, but how are they getting that? By going on Facebook and asking hundreds of people at the same time?
No, I'm just saying if they hook up with somebody who is in their area and because they're like, oh, he's got chickens, I'll go ask him. And the guy is very confident about what he says and he believes in what he says. Unfortunately, it's not correct on how to breed. Then the new guy is set on the wrong path.
The only thing I can say about somebody just starting out, it's very important that they learn right the first time, because if you learn wrong, it's very hard to get back into the right again ever. You'll go down that wrong road for the rest of your life.
And that kind of goes with the second one, which is finding the right mentor, which sounds easy enough, but it's actually harder to find the right person because there's a lot of people that know a lot of stuff, but they don't know how to actually implement the stuff that they're so-called teaching.
And certain things they're not going to tell you either. That's what I run into. I've been told stuff that was garbage. I know that's garbage now. And I'm sure the guy that told me that got a good kick out of it and all. But some of it they protected. They didn't want it out. Inbreeding for one. Oh, whatever you don't inbreed your chickens, you're destroying. Boo. Yeah. And that was a lie. He got me good on that one. Just using that for examples, a lot of guys will tell you stuff to keep you away from something that's going to make you a better breeder or make your chickens better. They don't want that.
I never had that problem, Frank, where I had a mentor that was keeping things from me. My mentors were all free with the advice. They couldn't wait to talk about it, tell me about it, teach me it. I had no problem. It's just that every mentor I had was at a different level or they taught different things. Tony was all about form, function, and beauty, the structure of the bird, the color of the bird, how the bird should be made up, the preservation of the bird, that kind of thing. And then Doug was more about the genetics, who really got me started. Ray was the one who taught me things that you didn't want to do it that way.
I've got one question for you, though, on that.
What's that?
Was you competing against them in the shows at that time?
No, but they were all older and they were pretty much done anyways.
Yeah. So, see, these guys that I was asking all the questions to, they just didn't want no competition.
Nancy, Tony and Ray, do you think they would have told me everything anyways?
Oh, yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think Doug too. So I don't think I would have had that problem.
You're lucky.
Steve's saying here that what he sees is a lot of people getting close, but then they don't know how to finish. They don't know how to finish the breeding process.
Well, that kind of goes back with what I was just saying here was a lot of people know a lot of stuff, but they don't know how to implement it. They don't know how to use it practically. It's like they can
explain it.
Or explain it. Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
right. They know how to do it, but they can't explain what they're doing. I've seen that many times too.
Many times. But now, this is how I see it. If you can't explain it to the person, what use is it? If they can't explain it to you, you're never going to learn nothing from that person to start with.
And a lot of times they can't explain it because if they really thought about it, they'd realize how wrong they actually are. And I never saw this until Facebook came around, where everybody thinks they're a geneticist and they want to explain it in such detail or in such a way that you can't use it, or they tackle the areas of genetics you can't use either. They're making it so complicated that they're confusing people. And I think they do that so that they look good, but they're not teaching
smart.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah, they look smart. You can't understand what I'm saying because I'm smarter than you. And they're not really trying to teach something. They're just a narcissist. That's the type of teacher that is. The way you break it down and explain it to people, they can use it actually. That's the difference between the two. You put it down to where they can actually use each step of it rather than sitting there. They don't even know the definition to the words that's being used.
Oh, that's the last thing I ever want to do is talk about something I can't explain. That just doesn't work for me. Yeah, Justin's right. He says it's crazy how bad information gets passed along. And I almost think the way information was passed along was maybe worse even before Facebook. Because Frank and I, we live in totally different areas. He lives in Kentucky. I live in California. Him and I both heard the same old wives' tales and superstitions. We didn't need the internet for that because it was getting around just fine. Now what's getting passed on the internet is adding new blood, adding this blood to that blood. I was showing Frank a picture of someone who had 4 birds on there. Just follow along here because the guy's birds, they were supposed to be all different bloodlines, but they all looked identical conformation-wise. He was purposely selecting them for this. That shows his ability to breed and select, but he was just selecting for the wrong traits because the birds were really high station and they didn't look like American games. But he had 4 different breeders that were here from the States that were well known, like Sweater and Kelso, and I can't remember all the other ones, but they all looked the same. And that's just where we're at now is people are always adding new blood. They're actually changing the breed.
Yeah. Well, in certain areas, it's already, the American game doesn't exist anymore. If you look at the birds closely.
That's scary.
They don't even resemble American game anymore.
Now, I may even do a whole show on this because I started writing down the outline for it, but we can just highlight it here because I believe in what we call the law of simplicity. For a long time, I've been this way. Frank knows I talk to my members about it all the time. Is anytime I learn something or I dig in deep to either teach someone, create an article, create a program, one thing I've really been good at is going in there and making it so that people can understand it. I simplify it. And especially when it comes to evolutionary biology and genetics, all my mentors are like, wow, I've never heard it explain this, but this is right on the money. So I've always been really good about simplifying things so that people can understand it and they can use it.
A lot of them, though, that stuck in this meaningless information as far as the old wives' tales, superstitions, if you could show them how science-backed breeding program truly works, they would be in it so deep, they would kiss that stuff by forever. But I think a lot of it, though, Kenny, they're like, I'm too old to start learning new stuff, to have to relearn all over again. And some of them, I'm not going to relearn again. I'm doing what I'm doing, and that's just how it is.
Yeah, it doesn't bother them that they're wrong. They just want to keep doing what they've been doing.
Yeah.
That's fine. Keep doing what you're doing. Waste your money. Waste your time. Go for it.
You're wasting money, time. You have 3 of them, you say. Time, money, and...
How much of either one of them? Time or money?
So they tend to make it more complicated than they need to. And I always had a saying that I use is to take the material. Once I'm sure that it works and I've put it to the test and I really believe in it, I would go through it and remove all the unnecessary stuff and highlight the essential stuff. And then I'd create the article from there so that they could use it. But I've done that with genetics, evolutionary biology. I could actually went into the founders program and made that look so good that it would be so complicated, confusing, they wouldn't know what to do with it. And that's one of the things about the Founders Program is I've simplified that too. It's so easy to follow. It's so easy to understand. You just do this step, and then you do this step, and you do this step. And every step is followed by the next step. And everything is done for a reason. And we explain that really well. And that's what I like about Frank is he understands the Breeders' Academy. He understands the Founders Program. So I like having somebody is working with me that understands it so well that he can explain it to the members, just in case they get in trouble. But have you noticed, Frank, that it seems like in the beginning, they had a lot of questions. And every time I get a question, I go in there and I simplify it even more. I explain it. I make sure it's understandable. We don't get those kind of questions as much these days, how the Founders Program works.
You're right, Kenny. And the biggest one that I had was certain ones, they were so excited. They were so pumped up. They wanted to go through the whole Founders Program in one coaching call. And I'd say, okay, here, where are you at? And they would tell me, we're going to focus on that area right now. They would want to get ahead of themselves. So Kenny come up with Start Here page. And I think between the back end shows and the Start Here pages, I think that made a tremendous difference in the coaching calls that we were getting. Because Kenny's right. He was doing probably 3 times what I was doing. But there were just so many. And now there's just not that many. And I think it's because of that.
Yeah. And you're right. I'm getting coaching calls still, but not like I was before. And I don't mind talking to the members, and I enjoy talking with them and getting to know them. But it's nice to see that they're getting it without me having to explain everything to them all the time, which is really good. But yeah, you're right. The Start Here pages was a big one. That changed the game. Yeah, the coaching calls was a big one. But like you said, we go into the back end, and we do a lot more hardcore. We can really answer the questions about the website, the Founders Program, the breeding materials. We can go a lot deeper back there, which is really nice. And at the end of the show, we usually do a Q&A, which answers any questions they have other than the topic at hand, which is cool.
When Kenny first asked me to do this with him, it was in the earlier days. A lot of people would contact me and go, I like the show, but I'm not learning anything from it, the live show. And I said, we're not teaching anything on the live show. The website's where we do all the teaching. And they said, oh, okay. I thought you guys was teaching on the show itself. And I was like, nope, there's not much teaching on the front end. We do all of it in the website. So that's before we was doing the roundtable, the members roundtable. And they thought we were trying to teach. And I was thinking, man, if people really thought we was trying to teach, they probably thought we sucked about teaching on the front end.
It's like we teach just enough to show people we know what we're talking about. But it's not my goal to do hardcore lessons on the front end. I enjoy the conversation, and then we get into the back end and we answer the hardcore questions, and we go deeper into the Founders Program, into the breeding methods. So I enjoy the back end more these days.
Robbie's saying it's so well explained that the questions that he used to have are small in comparison, and the program itself is perfect. Also, I don't know if you mentioned that we have the Master's Class video series. Those videos are really good, and they explain a lot.
Because we specialize in one topic at a time, usually. We're not trying to tackle a whole bunch of things. There was a time when we were doing the Master's Class videos for the phases and the stages of the Founders Program. We were doing with the members. Frank and I were noticing that it was harder to stay on track and stay on topic, and the videos were getting too long by answering questions as we were going. So what I decided to do, and I think this is working out better, is just going to be Frank and I teaching the lesson, but then talking about the topic in the back end. It's so hard sometimes, and this is the problem with the front end, is I'm trying to be so careful what I say, and my members who are probably watching, they know exactly what I'm talking about, that I don't know how to say it without saying the wrong thing.
That can be tough at times. That's the reason that I'm more relaxed in the back end than I am the front end, because I'm scared to death I'm going to say something I shouldn't say. Yeah. And I'm sitting over here writing notes down to where I don't say something that I shouldn't say.
Frank and I are going to cover that, but we're going to get in the back end with the members so that they can ask questions. So they're going to have their time to talk with us about that. And I think that's going to be better because these topics, there's so much content, so much information that we got to get out on these particular topics that some of the questions are a little off topic, and we need to stay on topic through the whole thing. And even when we try to keep them short, they're still over an hour long.
But I really enjoy that, though, when we do a video. Kenny and I take and we record it. Kenny cleans it up. He puts it on there. And then when we get with the round table, they can ask us anything they want to ask about it. And then we can turn that one show into like a Q&A for that one video. So that really works out great on that end of it.
You got into the part where you're talking about how to find the right mentor.
We just passed it, Nancy.
You just passed it. Okay. Then here's my question. For somebody who's brand new, how do they know when they found the right mentor?
Yeah, that's hard. That is so hard because some people, especially if you're a beginner, can say things that sound so good and you just believe it. It was like Justin said a second ago. A lot of these old wives are just passed from generation to generation. How do you think that happens? Because a lot of these newbies don't really know what the truth is, but some of these people can explain it and make it sound like this is the way it's always been. This is how we do it. And it's really hard sometimes to question your mentor if you don't know them real well or don't know how they're going to react. You're like, he's been doing this all these years. He says he's getting the results. I guess I'll just do what he does, even though it's not quite computing. It doesn't make sense. There's a lot of questions in my mind. And then here's the other thing too, is they get it with a crowd of people, unless they're using the same terminologies, the same vocabulary, and the same ideas, they can't even communicate with each other. So you can see how this has become a mess.
Yeah, every mentor that I've had, I have to say, as good as they were in what they specialized in, there was things that I was told that I know now was wrong. You're going to get that. The old wives' tales, the old superstitions, that type thing. So when I become serious and I wanted to quit buying birds and I wanted to breed my own birds, I wanted to be one of the guys that people was coming to wanting to buy them. And I said, if science doesn't prove it, I don't want anything to do with it. But when I said that, I opened up a big gate because I had to relearn myself back over again. And then Kenny comes along and added to all that. And he said the other day, me and him was talking, he goes, I've destroyed you.
He's destroyed a few people. Robbie's got the right idea. The right mentors are just now starting to exist. They're all from the Breeders' Academy. I'll agree with that one.
And you know what? I've got to pass the compliment the other way too, is I am so impressed with the members. We talk about it all the time, Frank and I. There's going to be a day where we're going to have to get a bunch of these guys together, like a good 6 or 8 of them on here, let them just talk and make a show of that. I mean, it has to be on the back end. When I see them talking in the groups page, they say all the right things. I can see that they're learning the material. They're understanding the material. They're understanding the vocabulary. They're actually using the vocabulary. And it's just so exciting. I was telling Nancy that the other day. I just get chills up my spine when I watch the members communicating with each other and how they talk and the stuff they're talking about. I'm like, oh my God, we're actually accomplishing something here.
And besides them making lifelong friends, they help one another. Kenny's right. Many times I go into the chat and look, and post after post, text after text, they're helping each other, walking each other through certain things that maybe 1 or 2 of them doesn't understand and the rest of them's walking them through it.
We're doing things that many people told me you couldn't do, that you would never accomplish it. They always felt like gamefowl people had to stay in their corner and the domestic chickens had to stay in theirs. We've got gamefowl people talking to domestic chicken people. We have domestic chicken people talking with gamefowl people and sharing ideas. And I always felt that was what we needed to do. If we want to keep our birds, we need to all work together. We're all chicken people. So when I started seeing that, I was like, oh my God, it just made all the difference. Like I said, I get chills up my spine just watching these guys communicate with each other. Like in the chat rooms on the Breeders' Academy group page, they're saying, oh, where are you at? Oh, I'm in stage 3. Oh, where are you at? You're in stage 4. Oh, I'm doing this. Oh yeah, these are my seed fowl. Like I said, just watching them talk like that and comparing notes and sharing with each other, it's just the greatest thing, you know.
And now that you mention that, I'm starting to see some really nice birds being posted in the group and in the chat. Some really nice birds. They're really getting it.
And that is good because you go anywhere else on Facebook and I rarely see a bird that looks like they should. And on the Breeders' Academy group page, they look like they should.
And Robbie is so right. Nancy?
We're not all chicken people. We are all breeders.
That's 100%
Very
true.
well said.
Because look at all the breeders we got in there, though. It's not all chicken.
Yeah. And that's wonderful.
So the next one would be they're not using common sense, breeding methods and practices. They're not understanding. They don't have the knowledge to know how it works. They're not obtaining good, solid information. They're not taking the time to even think about what they're learning. And they're not consistent with what they're doing. They're just all over the place. And instead of keeping it simple, they want to make everything complicated. And the one Frank says all the time, which is probably the most important one, they're not patient. They're not patient enough to go through the process.
I'm a firm believer that's the main trait a person needs to be successful and hit their goal. You got to have patience. You get too fast, it just messes everything up.
It cracks me up when I see people saying, oh, yeah, this is a strain I created a year or two ago. It doesn't work like that. It takes many years to actually create a strain, and you're just not going to get there in 1, 2, 3, or 4 years. It just doesn't happen.
But what's that tell you, though, Kenny, when they tell you that? What do you put them on a scale as a breeder from 1 to 10?
Oh, they're not breeder at all. They don't really understand the process, no.
Yeah, there's no way. Even if somebody had birds cleaned up for you already, and when I say cleaned up, I'm talking about defects and the correct conformation and type, and they give them to you and they wasn't a set family, you're still looking at a lot of years there just making them a true family. Forget about the other stuff. And that takes a lot of time out of it right there. To make a true family, you're still looking at a lot of years going through the process.
Yeah, if they saw how the Founders Program was set up and what it takes to actually create a strain, they'd realize what they've been doing has been so wrong all this time. It's a process. See, it's so hard because I want to talk about it. I want to start talking about that, at least the first few stages, and show how, because the first few stages is a cleanup process. And if you don't do the cleanup process, and look how many years that takes, okay? If you don't do that and you go into the foundation stage, you're just never going to get there. You're just going to be still dealing with all kinds of genetic diversity because you didn't clean up. You're just not going to get to the point when they're uniform and consistent. And the first stage is the most important because it's your seed fowl. And a lot of people are either picking whatever, or they're just not paying enough attention, or they're grabbing seed fowl where the cock has contrasting characteristics or it's a completely different breed than the hen. And they're trying to make families out of that. So understanding what birds to use in the beginning saves you all kinds of Nancy's time, money, and effort thing.
That's true. But a lot of them don't see the importance or why even start out. Seed fowl is not even talked about. Okay? It's my brood fowl. It's my brood fowl. And they get a cock and a hen or a trio, and that's what they breed out of for the rest of their life. They never go forward.
It's like we say, they want to go right into line breeding. First of all, they don't understand line breeding. And even if they did, if they went into line breeding, they wouldn't be ready for line breeding. The birds that they're using aren't ready to be line bred. And then they got these guys passing all these different so-called breeding methods. I was looking at one. I don't want to say his name. There's two, actually, and they're very popular people. There was one where he made a DVD, and I don't know if Nancy's seen it yet, but Tani and I sat there and we were watching it. And it got to the end, and I looked at Tani, I go, what do you think? She goes, I have no clue what he just said. And so we tried to watch it again. We got halfway through it. She says, I can't take this any longer, and she left the room.
I didn't make it that far.
You didn't make it that far?
I went halfway, and I come outside, smoked about a half pack of cigarette, said the heck with it. I'm done with it. I had a headache. I really did. I had a headache.
Yeah. And then the other one was go down here like that, and you cross here like that, and then you bring one over here like that. And I'm like, oh my God, stop. And then the 5/8, 3/8 method, there's no way they're using that method. Not the way they talk. I know they're not using it, and they're not getting the results they think they're getting from it. I just think they were looking for a method that they could act like they knew. So it looked like they had a breeding program. But even when they explained it, they didn't even explain it right, the way it's supposed to be used.
That's the reason I said, if you can't explain it, you don't understand it yourself, because that was said in one of the CDs. You may not understand it. I understand it. I've been doing this for a lot of years, but just trust me, you'll get better at it. Just keep watching it and you'll do better.
Oh, yeah.
You can't explain it. So how's anybody supposed to get better at it if they have no idea what you're doing?
Yeah, he actually said that. He goes, I know I'm not explaining this right, but trust me, it works. I'm like, okay.
Now, I actually recommended the 5/8, 3/8 to a breeder the other day.
Why?
He's a cattle breeder.
Oh.
That was a trick statement.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to see Kenny's looks, but I really did. I really did. He had never heard of it before, and he's starting with cattle. Yields for the markets. He's retiring in a couple of years, and that's what he's going to do. Deal on cattle, try to make some extra cash. And he was wanting a breeding program. So I told him to come to us or the 3/8, 5/8, which is already on the internet.
It's just not a method that creates a strain. It just helps enhance hybrid vigor. It helps to improve meat yields. Okay. But it's not one that can be done in a couple years. If you look how it's laid out, it's like a good 5 or 6 year program. Especially for chickens, it's a nutty idea to use. I couldn't find anywhere in my books where they were using 5/8, 3/8 in poultry at all.
I've never seen it.
No, I couldn't find it anywhere. I couldn't even find it online. I couldn't find it in my books.
And I've got that question wrote down. The next open seminar we have, I'm going to ask that question and see what I get from it. I've got it wrote down on my notes, but I'm so curious to what they say about that.
Okay, I got to bring this up here. Barb is saying, I can only get day-old cuckoo Moran chicks here where I live, and I can't find a mentor either. But here's the thing, Barb, you're a Breeders Academy member, and you are going to be the #1 mentor for the cuckoo Morans.
Yeah, it could be someday. There's an old term the old breeders used to use. You learn your breed by breeding. You learn your strain by creating them. So in the process of doing this, you're learning. And every time you breed birds and produce birds, you're learning something new. And you're little by little getting to know your birds and what they're producing. So every time you get offspring on the ground, you're weeding through them, you're selecting them, you're seeing the results every time you breed them. So that when other people start breeding them, you're going to know what to tell them. It's a very uncommon breed. I don't know if too many people are specializing in cuckoo Morans, although they're an awesome breed. I think they're cool. I don't actually know anybody who specializes in them. Exactly who I'm talking about. Beeman. Oh, that's cool. I got the same DVD. It sucked.
Kenny, crooked stick.
The best way to show a stick is crooked is not to argue about it or to spend time in denouncing it, but to lay a straight stick alongside of it. Nancy keeps forgetting she's not the one that edits the show.
Yeah. Shut up. That's what you're saying.
We got a rule here. You don't talk over anybody.
You're talking constantly. How am I going to get in?
After he showed me what he done as far as editing, I didn't feel so much sorry for him on editing after he showed me some of the tricks that he's got. So he's going to have to make it look a whole lot harder than what it is.
I showed you what I can do with it. I didn't show you how hard it is to edit.
The thing about it is when you add all of it into sound and what he does with it and putting the charts in.
I don't know why. It's like Nancy jinxed me. She came in here and said, this day's going to be crazy or whatever she said.
Then it went.
It did. It felt like it went like that ever since.
She knew ahead of time.
Nothing's went right since she did that.
Here's the thing. It goes along with the year that we've had. So might as well just end it with a bang.
It's been something else, I'll tell you that. I am just hoping that 2024 is better and 2023 stays gone. As far as never comes back around. There with that.
What'd you knock over?
My Sasquatch.
Oh, okay.
Oh, don't do that.
Yeah, he took a spill.
Oh my God. Okay.
I forgot I said him there.
Do they know what your Sasquatch is?
I hope it didn't hurt his head. Yeah. Now, Kenny got me 2 real nice Christmas ornaments put on the tree. And Amanda was going to put them on the tree. And I said, they're not going on the tree. They are not going on the tree. And she's like, why? I said, they're not going on the tree because her mom's dog eats everything that's on the tree. So they're not going on the tree whatsoever. No, not with that dog around anyway.
Well, it's the same thing here. She bought me a bunch of ornaments. They're sitting on my shelf over here. They're not on a tree.
That's why I use them for. That's what I use them for.
Yeah.
I've got nice ornaments on the tree.
They're just not mine, huh?
You've got Jiminy Cricket. He's on the tree. That's what they used to call Kenny when he was a baby. Jiminy Cricket.
Poor old Daryl's got a knot on his head now.
Daryl?
Yeah, that's Bigfoot's name. You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that.
We're going over a little bit, but I just got to ask this one question. Jason's asking, how are broilers bred? And I think it depends. You've got the commercial line, but you've also got backyard breeders, which are not necessarily backyard breeders. They do this for a living. They create the broilers from a certain breeds of domestic chickens. You want to elaborate?
Oh boy, that's a show all by itself. Yeah.
I was going to say that's Pandora's box.
Yeah, I can't explain that in 30 seconds. That's a breeding method all on its own. Ask Jason to ask me in the Q&A section in the back. Yeah. Okay. I hope you guys got something out of this show. I'm not sure anybody did on this one.
It's been a doozy.
It was. I don't know what happened. Totally went off the rails.
What we have learned is that finding a mentor can be a problem. And social media can work against you.
What threw me off too is the stuff that we did cover, we didn't go very far. What was it, a few paragraphs here? And I just wanted to skim through this a little bit. Ended up being the whole show. I didn't expect this to be the show. And then I just kept finding myself trying to stutter over my words because I kept wanting to say something that I couldn't say. We may have to someday not do the front end, just do the back end completely. Forget the front end.
Another vote for the broilers that are curious about the broiler.
They can ask me in the Q&A in the back. We can talk about it there. That's a whole nother...
the hour-long broiler show.
Yeah. It's nice to know, but it's not much you can do with it because it's a breed that can't replicate. No matter what you do, you're not going to be able to replicate it.
They protect them under tooth and toenail.
Yeah, they own the genetics on those birds. This is something they've been working on for 50, 60 years.
Well, you're talking about commercial broilers there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. They're all the same. Even if you're buying, what do they call them, the Isa Browns or Isa Reds or whatever they're called, I can't think all of a sudden. Those are the same thing. Those are protected lines. You can't replicate those.
All those mink birds are.
Yeah.
If it's worth its weight, it's protected. Very protected.
Yeah. Cornish crosses. Is it Isa Red or Isa Brown? I can't remember now. Any of those so-called broiler type birds, you can't replicate them.
But you've got some dual purpose birds that you can...
But they're not the same bird at all. We're talking about the difference between a 12 to 16 week bird to a 37-day bird. Completely different birds.
It's amazing they can get that bird that size and that length of time.
And I will say this too, the dual purpose breeds that you're getting at the hatcheries, they don't really get the size they should at 16 weeks. They're just not bred for that anymore. So it's really hard to find the good birds to even get that. So from an average dual purpose breed, you're not going to get the same type of bird in 6 weeks as you would from a broiler. And then they don't really have the carcass size that they should, even at 16 weeks. Again, you're better off creating your own strain for hybrid birds that would get you there faster than to create two strains that you could breed together for a recumbent reciprocal selection type breeding method to get the hybrids you're looking for that would gain the carcass size and meat quality that you were looking at 16 weeks.
AKA crossed.
Yeah, hybrids. They're hybrids, okay? But to do the broiler type bird, like the Cornish cross, it may not be worth your trouble to get there.
Kenneth is saying Red Ranger.
That's another one. These are lines that have been developed for a while now. They weren't created overnight.
And they guard them with their life.
Yeah.
They got a lot of money invested in those.
We do know that the white Cornish is in the Cornish cross. Okay, we do know that the white Plymouth Rock is in the Cornish cross. We do know that Leghorns were at it later to help with egg production for the hatchery. We're going into it, aren't we? Okay, you've got your parent lines, your grandparent lines, your great-grandparent lines. Every one of those is raised and developed from a different place. So you have your different grandparent lines, and they cross those from different farms. They cross those to create your grandparent lines, and those are created in a way to produce the parent lines, which are the ones that are at the hatchery. Even the hatchery can't reproduce these guys. They're given a certain type of hen and a certain type of rooster to produce the Cornish crosses that they're selling, and they can't replicate them either. So it's controlled from many different levels.
They can make the hybrid versions, but they can't make the breeding version.
They can produce the consumer version, the hybrid, but they can't create anything in between all the way up to the great-grandparent lines. And even though they started from Cornish birds and white Plymouth Rocks, they're not that anymore. They've evolved. Even those birds have evolved over time. Okay, then you get into the grandparent lines where they're actually taking the offspring from those and they're breeding them to a Leghorn, which even that Leghorn is a controlled strain that isn't really Leghorn anymore. But it's made to help improve the egg production for the hatcheries so they can mass produce these birds. So although we know what's there, we know the process they use, we can't replicate it.
When I was a kid, he was going to replicate them, and he gets them in, and he didn't know anything about their diet or anything, and he was getting them so big, they just collapse on themselves, just break themselves down before they get so big.
Oh, yeah, they won't survive. They'll die of heart attacks, and they won't be able to walk after a while. And I can't remember how many, I think it's 2 farms control all this. So,
oh, is it just 2?
I think it's 2. It may be 3 at the most. I think one of them's in England, in Great Britain, too. So, yeah, not very many people. If they go under, we could lose those strains. which to me isn't that bad a deal. I actually think a 16-week-old bird that's a hybrid bird, bred and raised for meat, is a better tasting bird. You just got to learn how to cook it.
That's the main thing.
You got to cook it low heat and slow. Same thing with our gamefowl. If you have a 1-year-old bird or a 2-year-old bird and you want to cook it, everybody goes, oh, they're too rubbery, they're too tough. You just cooked it wrong. Well, yeah, there's not a lot of meat on those, but if you cook enough of them, there's a meal there.
A lot of people does them in a pressure cooker to get them tender. Just makes them like rubber bands. Kenny's right. Low heat, moisture, and over a long period of time. And I'm telling you, they're good.
Yeah.
We eat them.
I mean, the people who used to cook chicken in the olden days that all passed away by now, they're the ones that knew how to really cook chicken because that's all they had before the Cornish cross. We went way deeper into that than I wanted. Thank you, Nancy.
Oh, welcome.
Okay, we're going to go on the back end. We're going to go talk to our members for a while.
Everybody have a safe weekend, and don't be out on the road. If you're being naughty, don't be out on the road. Stay somewhere and drink in, not out.
Yeah. And I'll say what I was trying to say earlier is I hope you learned something. I'm not sure you did. This is the strangest show we've done in a long time. We got through it. We filled up an hour. I know that. So we'll see you guys later. Hopefully you become a member. Join us in the Breeders' Academy. You're going to get the whole show. You'll get the Master's Class videos, the Founders Program, all the programs and courses go with it. We'll be there to help you. And you'll get the after show or the members roundtable. I'm still getting used to that one, by the way. So members, we'll see you in the back. Everybody else, I'll see you next week. Thanks. Okay, thanks for listening.
Yes, thank you again for joining us on the Bred to Perfection podcast show. This show was brought to you by the Breeders' Academy, where by becoming a member, you can increase your knowledge of breeding, advance your skills as a breeder, and take you and your fowl to the next level.
We can also show you how to create a strain from hybrid crosses or mongrel flocks, and help you to create, maintain, and improve your present strains. We urge you to check it out. You have nothing to lose, and you can cancel anytime.
To join us at the Breeders' Academy membership website, go to www.breedersacademy.com.
Best of all, I'll be there to help you every step of the way.
While you're checking out the Breeders' Academy, make sure to sign up for our newsletter, The Breeders' Bulletin. We provide a lot of free bonus materials and some great information that will take you and your fowl to the next level. Well, that's it for now.
We hope you join us next time for another episode of Bred to Perfection. We'll see you later.
Bye.